So I'll start out by asking some questions, and then we can open up to the audience. But first for Kaz, I guess your first couple films have been based around these characters of these two men. This one, it's a young woman. I was wondering what inspired you to move in that direction, and also, basically, where did Anne come from?
Tough question to answer. The last two films, both a male protagonist, so I definitely wanted to do something different. But yeah, it came from a lot of places. A lot of it is I wanted to work with Deragh. She moved to Toronto, and I wrote this film thinking of Deragh. And but yeah, all my films come from a very personal place, and it's always a very introspective place. I think that's what drew me to movies when I was younger, in my teens. Is I'd watch these sort of foreign films and just sort of find a dialogue through that. So, but yeah, for me, it's starting there and then learning about the character and researching and growing it, placing the character in a world, placing it in an environment. And so, yeah, Deragh and I spoke a lot about the character, and then we did some research and just bounced around ideas for a while. Deragh is actually in my last feature that we made in 2015, so we were thinking about it all the way back then. But a major influence also is my mother, the daycare that it's set in. My mother has been, she just retired, but for 40 years she ran that daycare. I went to that daycare as a child. Yeah, my mom's here tonight. Teresa. So yeah, I always write films for places I know, places I have access to. But yeah, so lots of things. So it's hard to say what one thing led to it.
And then in the intro, you talked about how you filmed it over 2 years, and I was just wondering if you could talk about that process. I know you've done with your previous films too. You've taken a longer time than a lot of filmmakers do, but you really take your time and build the film over that period. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's different each time, but it's always, I guess, now that it's been 3 features, it's always kind of slow and steady wins the race. But yeah, I mean, we like to experiment. There's a lot of improvisation, but there's also just kind of this. We want to just learn from the footage and try things and sort of organically grow a character. I work with my editor, Isla, quite a lot too, over a long period of sort of going through the footage and slowly figuring it out. Deragh and I, we talked a lot about backstory and sort of character things, but at a certain point, it became about cutting that away and sort of learning from the character, placing her in an environment. Deragh did quite a bit of research, right? She volunteered at the daycare as well, and I for me that's the sort of the core of my process is learning and adapting to places and characters. Yeah.
And then maybe for Deragh, what's it like being a character for 2 years? I mean, you've done other projects in between that too. So how do you maintain that focus and return to that character, and how does it build?
Well, I guess sort of what Kaz was saying too is the idea that, I mean, rather than making one decision about who this person was, I guess there was sort of one driving impulse with her, is that she likes people and she wants to be close to people, but she's a little bit kind of choked by that desire or something, and it makes her kind of incapable, and that in turn makes her feel isolated. and so you kind of always have this sort of push and pull with her, but then it would be a matter of being placed in these different scenarios that Kaz would orchestrate, and each of those scenarios gives you information about the character, so you're actually through maybe this decision you've made about the character, and then being in this scenario, you're kind of building her and learning who she is as she goes. So that made it less of a kind of, like, there was no sort of get back into character now.
So it's just living with her for 2 years.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I want to talk about the performances too, because you have, obviously, there's people who are professional actors like Deragh, Matt, and then you have children, and then you have your mom, and you have all these other people. Like, maybe you could talk about like the balancing of the performance, that they all are integrated so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole mixture of different types of performances or layers at times of documentary or things that are actually happening and things that aren't. So Deragh actually jumping out of a plane, or the scenes at the daycare. Yeah, Deragh jumping out of a plane. Yeah, that was the first scene we shot too. And then also, filming at the daycare. Half the time it would be an actual classroom, and Deragh would wander into the classroom and just improvise scenes. The scene with the butterfly is a good example of that. And then other times there was, a group of really talented young child actors that we worked with, and would, for Oliver and but then and then someone like Matt, who, I mean, if you're Canadian cinema has a persona of his own, and Matt, of course, is also a filmmaker. Deragh is also a filmmaker. Yeah, MS Slavic. So collaborating with filmmakers too, or people from my life. Yeah, so it's. I don't have one method. I don't think there is one method. It's just constant. Constantly adapting to it.
Okay. Maybe we can open up to the audience now. I don't know if we have any questions yet. And if you raise your hand, we have one right here.
I like to improvise quite a bit. There is a script. There was a 90-page script, and I showed it to Deragh very, very early in the process. But I always try to find the dialogue again on set. So there'll be sort of a plan. There'll be a conflict. I'll have certain lines I might feed the actors. But I love finding those sort of moments that you can't write. I always figure on set we're going to get something greater. So there's a great deal of improvisation, I would say.
I think we have one right here.
I have a question for Deragh.
I think we know who this is.
Anything about sharks from that movie?
I think I've still got a lot to learn, but your passion is. But your passion and dedication is very inspiring.
Oh, he's got the shark.
Okay, maybe I have another question about. We have one here, but I have a question. We'll get back to that in a second. About the choreography. I mean, your camera is always so close to the character. I just wanted to talk about the choreography of that and how that works. And as an actor, how does that work for you too? Is it choreographed, or is it the camera following? What kind of space do you have as an actor as well?
Yeah, I mean, the performance or the moment always kind of leads, and we sort of figure out how to shoot it. All my films are sort of shot this way, and they've all been, or most of them have been shot by Nikolai. So a lot of it is sort of unspoken at this point, and sort of putting our trust in Nikolai too, and building his relationship with Deragh and the moments, and just sort of adapting. So quite often I just have to trust him, if walking into a classroom, or I wasn't always in the plane. A lot of the time it was Nikolai up there alone.
So you didn't jump?
I did jump. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's another story.
Well, tell us.
Well,
I forgot that you jumped.
Deragh was up for jumping the first time, and then Nikolai and I looked at the footage, and it was good, but we thought it could be better, but we couldn't bring up the courage to ask Deragh to do it again. So we did a camera test with me. I stood in for Deragh, and we tried out 4 or 5 cameras, and then showed Deragh the footage, and see, it does look better. And then Deragh jumped again.
But Nikolai has a pretty incredible, even though he's so close, he's very aware of what's going on around him. He has a sort of narrative awareness too. And so despite being so close, he's kind of constantly moving and adjusting too. So it actually is not a very invasive camera presence. It actually feels a lot closer to another actor.
Yeah, and Nikolai does everything himself. He doesn't have a gaffer or assistant camera. He lights the set on his own, and so it just allows for this sort of intimacy or relationship. The whole crew is very stripped down, a very tight crew of us.
Okay, I think we had one in the middle here, and then we can come down here after.
For Deragh, I was just curious if that was your first experience skydiving, sort of what that rush felt like.
Yeah, no, it was really, really scary. Yeah, no, I really didn't like it. It was really the thing that's really strange is like you make a decision, like Kaz is like, will you go skydiving, and you say yes, but you don't really understand that that's like what you're gonna do. And it was just amazing to watch how much I didn't understand that I was gonna go skydiving. And then until literally 13,000 feet, they open the door, and it's just complete realization, just like total realization that you're gonna throw yourself out of a plane. It was just like complete horror. Yeah, I wouldn't have done it for like not for a movie.
I think we have one here, and then we can go up front there.
How much does the edit change while you're working through the movie, and then when you kind of finish the movie, the shoot, how much changes as you go back and look at the sequences that are already kind of in place to refine?
Yeah, always changing in different ways, and we're editing, we're shooting, mixing stuff around. Yeah, I work very, very closely with Isla, who's cut all my films. So yeah, we experimented more than ever with the edit of this film. The opening, the juxtapositions was something we found in the edit. Say even the final shot. And then just a lot of just relationships between scenes. We learn from them and sort of learn how they could be placed differently. We cut a lot. This film was a lot longer when we made it initially, and we just kept cutting it down and cutting it down.
So it's basically broken up. It's not chronological because it just feels, it flows so well, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's especially with the skydive training or stuff. Yeah, that's definitely, I guess, not an obvious chronology. Yeah. So yeah, we try to. We think of it almost abstractly sometimes, and I think it's partially because of the aesthetic being so close to her. We look for different ways of relief. We're not going to cut to a wide, but she'll be, a scene with water, or a scene at a wedding, or just these sort of different spaces. Suddenly she's at a lake, or she's riding on a bus, and these sort of different things to shift the tempo and kind of draw the audience's attention in different ways, or shake things up. Disorient people in the right way. Yeah.
I think we had here.
Another skydiving question. So why do you feel that when you were doing, and why did she want to skydive?
Yeah, I mean, why do people skydive? I don't know. It's related to the bachelorette party, to do something, to feel something, to sort of mark an occasion, to find a moment. But yeah, I mean, why does she continue to skydive? I mean, it's the only time we see her sort of alone in the film. It's sort of her own journey. But yeah, I don't have many answers like that. I don't really think of the character that way. I didn't make this film because I totally understand this character. This is someone who fascinates me, and I'm still, figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you meet the character, she has this sort of, structure of a life in place. She has a job and an apartment and some friends. But she sort of, I guess, has like a desire for experiences or for something, I guess, beyond your everyday experience. And I don't know what I think of when I see that scene of her with the guys vaping is like almost a kind of absurd like desire for community or something. Like you'd already see how she's like starting to take on their gestures. And like I mean, like the guys at the skydiving place, they're like adrenaline junkies. Like they jump like 6 to 8 times a day, and like on their days off they go and they jump, and they have like and so I think Honestly, I don't even know if she likes skydiving. I kind of think maybe she doesn't, but she's just sort of made this decision that she's like, yeah, this is what I'm going to be part of. This is what I'm going to do. Um, it's kind of arbitrary.
Oh, right here.
Did you have like a mental illness in your mind that you're trying to portray?
Me?
Your character.
No, I didn't. It was, probably a character that's operating with a certain amount of anxiety, I suppose, in terms of like, not being able to, not knowing how to get what she wants, I think. Like just having sort of, like just in the way that, maybe she wants to be really close to Matt's character. And instead of, I don't know, maybe paying attention to another person, instead it's this kind of like hyper, almost sort of desperation to be close to someone else. Like,
And your mother was asking her, like, are you okay? If you want to stay here tonight? Is there something else?
I think,
I think exactly. That's all we need to know, that she has sort of a history, that something has happened before. I could talk a bit from how I conceived the character a bit. There was a phase where it was almost a pitfall of us doing too much research and sort of trying to pinpoint what it was, and that we realized that wasn't the point of the film. And we worked with quite a lot of mental health care practitioners. I was constantly screening it for them, and it just reinforced my own beliefs that, if it's too prescriptive, it limits it. And even when talking to doctors, it's more useful because it's more true to reality that we don't know exactly what is going on in these moments in workplace. And even when I, back to my own personal influences, like people I've lived with or people in my life, like I know perhaps they take pills but I don't know exactly what their diagnosis is, So many of these things I think should be kept private. Yeah.
I like doing the daycare staff, give her as many chances as possible. That was really nice.
I hope there aren't too many villains in the film or antagonists. I like to think everyone's doing their best, but still, people, it's life. Yeah.
I think we had one here. Oh, yes.
So, your previous films have all been kind of like slice of life films, but this one kind of ends on a bit more bigger scope than the previous. So, what were you saying of Anne just jumping out of an airplane and never seeing her again?
I think the other films were just as ambiguous, Sean. I think my endings are always a bit like that. I think there's multiple readings. Honestly, many people have different takes on it, and I quite like that quality. That it is, I think, an open door, an open-ended look. Yeah. So I guess I'm saying nothing, but I'm saying a lot of things, perhaps. But yeah, I definitely am not keen to sort of put my finger on it right now.
Okay, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I just want to thank Deragh and Kaz for bringing this film. And